I'm Cancer Untamed Oracle, and I'm going to get into the reason that women, when they go through an awakening, people act like they miss them, but they actually miss access to you. So I want y'all to understand something. A lot of people are not grieving your actual absence when you change and you pull away. They're actually just grieving the loss of access to you, access to your labor, access to you listening to their problems, access to your nervous system, access to you being an emotional regulator, the one to fix things, access to your constant availability, access to the changes that they go through. People get real extra crispy. Extra crispy is tense, frustrated, defensive, short tempered, and it's not really because you've done anything to harm them, but the role that they assign to you is collapsing. Now, I know this because I've lived it. I have walked through some of the darkest years of my life. My dog is doing a lot of stuff, y'all, so just bear with me. But from illness, from grief, isolation, going no contact, depression, I felt like I was going through a death. And I actually was. I was going through death of an identity. I wasn't ascending. I was descending. We talk about spiritual ascension so much that we don't talk about descending because that's a part of the process. This is what happens when it is an opportunity for you to clarify things. You start to realize that relationships were actually surviving on you being over functioning. Relationships that depended on me to always give, to always over explain, to be over given, to carry too much burden and not even complain about it. Regulating everybody else's emotions. I thought that I was loving people by doing these things. But really, to be honest with you, I was just performing survival. Now, psychology calls homeostasis. It's a state when your system is regulated. But when you're trying to preserve yourself and you're living in survival mode, you don't have that regulation. This happens through friendships, through communities that you feel a resonance with. And you have ever been the helper, if you ever been the one that listens to problems, the peacekeeper, the strong one, that's a big one. The system adapts to that version of you, right? Because you've trained reality to adapt to that version of you. So when you change, when you start resting, when you start saying no, when you stop answering phone calls, when you stop being willing to help, when you stop over explaining why you're not helping, when you stop rescuing, and suddenly people might start to act confused. They might even get mad and be pissed off with you. They may feel disappointed in you. Some people even can get hostile and aggressive with you because systems resist change. The 3D matrix, it resists change. So your boundary disrupts the equilibrium that was set in place through your own nervous system. And so they're going to call your boundary selfish. When it disrupts the role that they assign to you, you will be considered to be selfish. And it's not cruelty, but they'll probably make it seem that way. Sometimes it's dependency. Sometimes it's covert entitlement. Sometimes people became so accustomed to your labor that your access started to feel like it was their right, especially in family systems, in relationships. And at the moment that that changes, they go through a withdrawal, a literal neurochemical withdrawal. This is why awakened women lose so many people. Not because you're becoming a worse version of yourself, but because you're becoming less available to old contracts. And old contracts, they don't like expiration dates, right? You're canceling a soul contract. Nobody talks about the loneliness of these stages. This is the underworld, and it is lonely. You start to recognize patterns that's probably been in your face the entire time. You see who only calls you when they need something, who only likes the version of you that is over functioning, giving more than you really have to give. Those who become comfortable, because you're managing things And when you pull away and you realize this is not healthy for me. Some relationships were never built on mutuality. So there isn't reciprocity. It was built on your self-abandonment disguised as you being a good person, a good woman. This is why I don't teach women how to become hard and hardworking. I teach women how to get clear on what's actually happening, because clarity requires an explanation through you intuitively. It's going to give you permission to pull away. Clarity will help you to not feel like you got to negotiate because you feel guilty, because guilt is oftentimes a hook that's used to control you. And feeling guilty, people will even try to take you on a guilt trip to try to make you return to a role, so that they can regain access to you. So these different systems in place, this is something that the 3D matrix created through the patriarchy. So when you go through the underworld, understand something. Not everybody deserves unlimited 24/7 access to you. Not everybody deserves an explanation as to why. Not everybody deserves your emotional labor. And not everybody is going to celebrate you and your evolution. Some people only love the version of you that was convenient, that was easy, that went with the flow. I didn't come out of my darkest years bitter. I came out with more powerful intuition. I came out with clarity. I came out understanding that peace has to have boundaries, that love cannot exist without boundaries, that access has to have boundaries, and that women who survive the underworld, they don't return weak, they return wiser, they return sovereign. So if you've been losing people lately, if people feel like you're a disappointment or you're failing them, you may be canceling old soul contracts, and this is painful for them. And systems will always resist when a woman is pulling her energy away. And it is lonely. It is difficult to describe and explain. You are not broken. You are becoming unavailable for what no longer holds space for the authentic version of you. And as I went through a lot of these things on every level, learning this was really painful. I realized how much space I had allowed other people to take up inside of my mind based on their perspective of me. And I realized that my mind wasn't my own. And other people's opinion of me mattered to me more than me. That's something that's even painful to admit. And there was a lot of guilt through the process of me becoming a better version of myself, of me prioritizing my nervous system, prioritizing my health. This is relevant on every level right now for women. Because as women, we have become the men of the universe. We are productive. We work hard. We push through. Most of the time, we don't complain. If you happen to be a quote unquote black woman, then that's even more so, because we're expected to be strong, right? That strong black woman thing. But at the same time, we're not allowed to have anger about anything, because if we get angry, we're a bitch. But if we get walked all over, we're considered a good woman. And unfortunately, a lot of relationships are realizing that these programs have been put in place by the 3D matrix. And a lot of relationships are having a really tough time right now. And to the point, Naruto, whatever you're doing, stop. Can I finish this video? Thank you, sir. A lot of relationships are struggling right now because they don't know how to exist with the version of you that is just now being recreated, being rebirthed. A lot of men consider 24/7 access to a woman something that women are supposed to do no matter what. No conditions. It's supposed to be unconditional access at all times. A lot of us thought that being married required us to always be on. And this is the reason why we are so stressed out, tense, tired. Even when you're resting, you're not resting because your mind can't stop thinking. You feel like life is moving fast, but you're not really getting anywhere. You're feeling like you're existing in a life that somebody else built, and your body probably can't even keep up with it. You know, we're not meant to be productive all the time. And generationally speaking, through epigenetics, a lot of what we're experiencing right now is a result of what the women before us experienced. So some of the fatigue that we feel is ancestral fatigue. If you are a woman who is a seer, a woman who is deeply intuitive, a woman who lucid dreams pretty easily, a woman who reads energy in the room before anything is ever said, a woman who can see people so clearly that they feel exposed just in your presence without saying anything at all. When you are this type of woman, your experience is going to be very unique. Naruto, sit down. It's going to be very unique. And I wish I would have had someone to give me a guidebook as to how to navigate when relationships are breaking down, because I'm a different version of myself. Because what happens is you'll do all of that hard work and still not have a softer life. And people will still make you feel like you're doing something wrong. What are you doing? Absolutely not. Naruto. No. Why are you being so bad today? Stop that. He's doing everything. Let me find out. So one of the things that you can do is get my book, my ebooks. I have the Dark Goddess Guide ebook. It comes with a free Dark Goddess Grimoire, so you can learn quick tips about personal experiences with Dark Mother archetypes to help you navigate this. Because if you're not in touch with your Dark Feminine, when you start to feel guilty, when people start to tell you how terrible it is, bless you, when people start to tell you how terrible it is to experience this version of you and they don't like it, it's a certain way that you have to reorganize your mind, body, and soul to be able to withstand that without it turning you into the old you that said yes when your body was saying no. And this includes intimacy. That's not 24/7 access. Just because you are married or in a long-term relationship or whatever it may be, that doesn't mean that there's 24/7 access. And it's nothing wrong with not feeling like that's what you want to be doing. And you know, you will more than likely, if you are just now starting this journey, or maybe you've been on it for a while, but you keep going back into the old version of yourself, you will feel the tension in the air. Whether it's between you, friends, family, co-workers, partners, children, adult children, whatever. You're going to feel the pushback because the 3D matrix was built on the nervous system of women. And this is also mirrored in the nervous system of Mama Earth. Okay, so when we see the Schumann resonance of Mama Earth go high, it usually shows up with physical symptoms in our own bodies. And this is the exact same thing. Our anatomy is mirrored by Mama Earth. Some say Gaia, no matter what name she's called by, these things are true. And so you have to be able to access that dark feminine energy where you no longer give out too many fucks about what other people think about you, because you know who you are. You don't need people to think that you are a good person for you to feel validated in who you are. And I didn't have that. I didn't have time to properly individuate myself from the conditioning of the culture. Black culture has been deeply conditioned. And a lot of us are malnourished emotionally because we have been deprived of that deeper connection, that spiritual connection that is required. Most women, I'm pretty sure y'all have noticed, but most women, we are wired very different from men. Men who have worked on the feminine aspect of themselves carry some of the attributes that we have organically. Every spiritual system, men had to go through initiations and learn how to work with the feminine aspect of themselves to navigate spirituality. So we're not new to this. We're true to this. And the patriarchy has drained us. I see it all day, every day. And I do still have my moments. So that guide comes with the free grimoire. It comes with nervous system healing and traditional Chinese medicine ebook that you will receive. All you have to do is message me, let me know that you make the purchase and I will send it to you myself. And also I have the book Sis Unfuck Your Savior Complex. And that's really more so about, because maybe you don't feel like you overgive. Maybe you don't feel like you overexplain. Maybe you don't feel like your nervous system is too open for other people to try to comfort them, to be the one that they come to be the one that they seek advice from. Maybe none of those things are you. I really doubt it. Most women have experienced this on some level in their lifetime. So the Sis Unfuck Your Savior Complex helps us to open our Akashic records using 8 specific points in our natal chart that's going to direct us to the specific soul contracts we created with the people that we attracted into our life. And we choose our parents. We choose our family. Okay. It's going to reveal that. And then you can create affirmations that are specific to your Akashic record, not what somebody else used that work for them. So it is really deep shadow work. I would say take 10 to 15 minutes out of your day, sit down with the ebook and do about 10 to 15 minutes of journaling with it, because I do have journal prompts in there. I have fill in the blanks in there to make it easy. Because the last thing that we need is something that's hard, distressing, and going to require a lot more time and energy than we probably have to give. And I also have the coven open for women. And when you join the coven, say, hey, let me know you in there. When you join the coven, you're going to have access to things that you cannot access anywhere else. A lot of the spell work that's in there, the meditation, the yoni meditation for healing the womb, and being able to, because believe it or not, When you're in survival mode, pleasure is the last thing that's on your mind. But it should actually be one of the pillars to your healing journey. We need oxytocin, especially when you get like 35 and over and estrogen starts to drop and things start to change hormonally. You need oxytocin. You need to bathe yourself in oxytocin hormones to heal your nervous system. Ashwagandha is not going to fix it all. Learning how to work with our body to help our brain chemistry to give us what we require to be this better version of ourselves is the best way. I also give you somatic exorcisms in the coven. And I say exorcisms because I don't care who you've been watching, what book you've been reading, what podcast you done listen to. I am telling you from experience, and I have shared my whole experience since 2006 when I first started posting videos. I have shared everything that I felt like could be transformative for other people that are going through this awakening, that are ending generational trauma. It is not going to be accomplished. What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop that. I wish I could put the camera on you right now. Cut it out. I'm not gonna edit this out, y'all, because this video, to get this stuff in words was a challenge. Okay. But you need the oxytocin to offset the stress hormones, the cortisol being high, because dopamine is not how we thrive. A woman's nervous system actually responds in the form of stress to too much dopamine. Dopamine is a reward system, but that don't mean that it's always good for us. So a lot of what we have been interacting with through technology, it is also draining the life force out of women more so than men. And I didn't know this until I started to study. I have been working with a traditional Chinese medicine physician, a somatic expert as well. And so I took everything that I learned and I put it in these ebooks. Okay. So those are some things that you can do. And if you like to follow along with videos, that's in the coven. It's starting at just $2.99. I wanted to make this as accessible as possible because I don't want a paywall to be the reason that a woman who is really ready for this journey to not be able to get this information. But the exorcism, let me break this down. Affirmations is not going to cancel a energy or thought form that has attached itself to you alone. The fascia within the body is the cellular memory within the body. And it holds all of the information from everything that you have ever been through. And if it's not being exercised out of you, then that becomes stored stress in the body. And when you have stored stress in the body, it negatively affects your finances. I am making more money now than when I was working much harder because we're in a new spiritual economy, learning how to attract what you need versus working hard and using force to get what you need. That is the whole purpose in feminine energy. It's supposed to be magnetic, and it's supposed to draw things to you that is required for you. So this is the metaphysical mechanism behind when you really get committed to feminine energy. A lot of us don't need a lot of help with masculine energy because a lot of us are better men than a lot of men. We are great at doing a lot of things that men are just now learning because the patriarchy devolved men. And even though it was tough on us, we are much more evolved in different ways. And so at some point, your body is not going to allow you to work as hard. And this was when I hit that wall, I had to figure out what this was. So, you know, all of that can be accessed in the coven. I'm going to put all of the links in the description. If you made it this far, thank you for taking the time out to listen to something from someone who has actually walked through it. I appreciate you for being here. You know, I love to read y'all comments and your stories and your messages. We also have a group chat that I'm keeping small for a reason. It's not a whole lot going on right now, and that's okay. Because as this work and as the world continues to decline into chaos, I know more people who want to be with like-minded women will find me. You know, this is something, I'm not for everybody, and I'm not easy to find, and I like to keep things intimate. But this is going to be required, and I'm going to be real with y'all. If you got stored stress in your body that you don't really know how to get out of you, because cardio is not it. I thought it too. It's not. Somatics is where it is. Pandiculation is where it is. Yoni breaths is where it is. Specific visualizations and meditation is where the true keys lie. And within those things, when you combine those things, tapping into spirituality hits real different. And I know a lot of us would love to write a wish on a bay leaf and burn it, and it happens. And I know there are plenty of videos that tell you to do that. But I am telling you from experience that even magic will not be able to help you if what's stored in your body is the opposite of what it is that you desire to attract into your reality. So I'm going to put the links in the description. I would love to hear from y'all. Like, what was your biggest takeaway from this? Did I say anything that really spoke with you and stuck with you? And if you're going to go ahead and take the next step, I would love to hear from you too and let me know. And for those of you who are my day ones, like, leave some comments and let, you know, some of the newbies know what it is, because we've been out here doing this work for a long time. And I'll be back with part 2 of this conversation, because I feel like it is a real necessity to keep going, because having a nervous breakdown doesn't have to happen. If you have the formula for dealing with the underworld, me having a Scorpio moon, and there are a lot of other things. I have a Pluto stellium. It's so many things in my personal natal chart that I learned that made my life experiences make sense. And depression started to lift. And I was able to write songs about these things. I'm going to put the link in the description to my album. It's streaming on all platforms. But a lot of the spell work, affirmations, meditations, visualizations, I actually embedded that into music. So you can be vibing with something and still healing. And I think that's really one of the best things ever, is that you just enjoying yourself, but you're listening to something that reprograms your subconscious mind so that you also don't have to work as hard, and you're able to actually see the fruits of your labor. All right, y'all. Peace.